at the categories that is not so broad as to be not informative. So that's what I'm hearing as the issue. And anybody want to speak to that? Because I'm hearing that non-compliance or partial compliance can be this broad when that doesn't tell people what that means. It doesn't mean whether you take 6 steps or 8 steps or 24. So maybe there's a way to address that.
I think I've tried to address that, which is that there are words in the report that try to describe exactly what the police bureau has and hasn't done, what the city has and hasn't done, what the Coab has and hasn't done. And if people disagree with the label put on those words, then we should go back and look at that again. But I think that we feel that and again,
literally going to shit out of my eyes.
Collaboration, and I'm not afraid to use that word. I think we want to encourage the police bureau to continue to reform itself. And I think that we also have to think that the reality is I don't think there's any area
So
where they
was
haven't
the
done
officer's
anything.
foot
There's some
all
areas
the
where
way up
they've
his
made very
ass,
good progress.
halfway out of his ass, or not in his ass at all?
We're just trying to acknowledge that. I don't think, again, if we want, I think for the next time around, and there is the next time around, before we write that report, we do want to ask those who can continue to be concerned about our rating system to point out the ones that in particular where they think that it's a problem and why they think it's a problem.
Comments?
And we're open, I mean, we're not being closed-minded. We're trying to be responsive here, but we also want to, as I said repeatedly, give credit where credit's due if there's something going on. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
so let's say you're this is an example, and I'm just asking to develop some sort of clarification. So if you called Chief of Day, let's say, and you said, we need to meet on this date, or that day, then that would be something, in my mind, that you would write down, right? And then from there,
Excuse me.
to me, right? In my work, I would say, to me, that's partial compliance. Because there's a goal that's being sought, and there is a methodology and a process that's being engaged. And that would be in your work, no? That would be data that would be accessible.
Document, yeah.
It would be, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think some places where no data available is listed was for a paragraph that had, of the agreement that had multiple aspects. So some aspects of that paragraph of what's covered, we did have some information on. There might be a particular aspect where we didn't. So we try to include that information in there. So just because no data was available on a particular aspect of that paragraph, we may have had data or information for the other concepts in that paragraph. So it's tricky, but to break out the paragraphs into even more pieces would give you about a 300-400 page report, and then we'd be kind of going the other way with making it too detailed for people to actually be able to consume. But we can certainly look at categories and kind of scoring that way.
It sounds like you'd also like to have some input from Coab on their thoughts about that gradation. Jimmy?
Yeah, what I see with partial compliance and compliance, I can see when you say there's partial compliance, and it'd be a good thing to have some really bullet points. And it's just one line, it's a half a line, but there's partial compliance with the community engagement, for example. We went out with the community, been working with the police school and the heads of the bureau on things, and just make a one sentence on partial. So whatever there's a partial or whole or non-compliance, give a bullet point, just one bullet, for example, to show why you made that call. Yeah. And I don't think that is in the report yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good point. We will do that. And this next report, there was more of that going on. But frankly, I'm not reluctant to say that the level of community engagement on the part of the police bureau during that time period when this report was done was not very impressive. And that was just something, that's a reality. And I think that is reflected in the words of what we said. But there was an attempt to have a meeting, a town hall meeting that didn't go so well. There were various, but in terms of the actual attending the meetings and that sort of, we have people like Captain Marshman and others that regularly participate as well as the Coab members, but there are still issues there about getting everybody involved. And I think that's, I'm not afraid to say that.
So I think this is a wonderful, robust decision about gradations of quantifiable and qualitative analysis of data and metrics. One thing that I specifically recall was a real issue with some people on the Coab about your report being so long. And so I kind of just want to put a little marker out there that, above all, relationships are the most important thing here in the Coab and in the community. And so going forward, when you guys present your 150, or I hope 300-page, or whatever, that describes what's going on, that the people in the Coab and the people in the community can be thankful and appreciative that Rosenbaum and Watson are sharing their data and metrics.
Okay, one more thing from Elaine that we've got to move on. Was the issue of making categories considered or adopted is the question. We had a detailed discussion with specific examples at the April meeting, and Amy Watson was present. I'm not sure if that was a mental health subcommittee meeting or... more specific. Okay, yeah, she just making categories more specific. So that's another recommendation.
For making basically more than partial compliance, substantial compliance. Right, and we're trying to be consistent with the DOJ reports as well that use categories. That way it's a little bit easier for the public to look at kind of, are we assessing things similarly to DOJ? And I believe we actually have maybe an additional category beyond what DOJ has. But again, that's something that we can continue to discuss and
leg boots.
As we move forward, so that the reports are useful to.
The bullshit's getting thick.
Thank you. If there are no more Coab questions, we're going to move into public comment time. And I have people signed up, and so I'm going to start with this list. Crystal Ilinsky. You will have 3 minutes.
Crystal?
Hello, thank you. I'm addressing all the members. My name is Crystal Ilinsky. And I wanted to let it be known again for the record that I am interested in getting more involved. I stated as much to City Council. I understand there are like 3 different ways I can get nominations and recommendations, and I was wondering if any of you would like to take me under your wing and mentor me, and in any way, in any capacity I can help.
I would love to know. I'm sure I would learn about it.
So you guys will take care of that offline.
Yes.
All right.
I just wanted to share my Kathleen Sadat story, since I already shared it with CRC, and they told me this isn't the right place, you need to go to Coab. So I will. And I will not be attending for a while, but I will be following closely online. I'm going to go on the internets, and I've been inspired by somebody I consider a hero, and I saw a comic book about once, as well as Dan Handelman. And maybe there'll be one about Amanda Fritz as soon as people start to resign. There might be even more. But I attended the first few meetings because they were in my neighborhood and they were accessible, and I was so inspired by what Judge Simon did. And I got a little disgruntled early on and stopped going. But when I ran into Kathleen Sadat at a public meeting, well, at a library event, I told her that I'd always appreciated what she'd done, and I had heard an interview on OPB that there was one thing she said that upset me in a way that I had to sit and think about why, and that was possibly because of my own condition. It's a reflection of how I feel when I approach these things. Is when I go to public meetings, I say I represent 10,000. Statistically, that's how many people would like to say what I'm saying, but can't be here. And I'm always pressuring other people to get off their, can I say lazy fat asses or whatever, and go out there and do it. But then I feel really bad about doing that. And I told her that, and she somehow inspired me to get out there and do it, handed me her card and said, show up to the next meeting. Well, the next meeting was, to me, it was a bit chaotic, and it was demeaning to the public. As a public person, I felt like things were not what I wanted to see, and I had to really come to Jesus moment. So now she's resigning, and I thought I'd better really start paying attention. So I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
I have, the name here is Linda, but it doesn't have a last name.
It's Sid. Not like the one you committed. The dairy that used to be here. S-E-N.
Right.
Kind of just to follow along in her appreciation of you. Thank you again for helping me find my strength. I appreciate you, Kathleen. To the members of the Coab. Hi, guys. I'm coming to you this afternoon in regards to a project that's very near and dear to my heart, Sisters of the Road Cafe. They share a very unique voice when it comes to community, and I wanted to refresh a conversation that I had at a meeting with